Love it or hate it, Doom 3 made bold design choices that set it apart from the originals. From new enemy designs to new gameplay mechanics and story structure, it managed to deliver a horror experience that still holds up even after 21 years. But what if I told you that some of the content cut from the game could have made an even bigger impact? Let's take a look at what was left behind. Let's start with the scenario. The early draft showed a much more detailed storyline. In this version, General Hayden replaced Kelly as the commanding officer. The story would have misled you into thinking Hayden was the villain before killing him off and revealing Betruger as the real one. Teresa Chassar was also meant to have a larger role, accompanying the player through part of the game until she died and turned into a lost soul. One section I'm happy they removed was a stealth mission where you had to avoid cameras to prevent enemies from being alerted. That kind of mechanic just doesn't fit a Doom game. The whole story with the Soul Cube would have been told differently. In the game, you only get small snippets about what the weapon is, the Martian civilization, and how it was created to fight back Hell, mostly through PDA messages and video disc. However, in the first script, the story would have been told mainly through visions experienced directly by the player. The finale would have also been different, featuring a direct fight against Betruger, who might have transformed into a demon similar to the Maledict, or maybe into a familiar boss that was completely cut. Several demons we know today went through very different design early on. The Commando, for example, originally featured far more tentacles. The Cherub also looked much closer to something you would later see in Dead Space. The Arch-Vile was first revealed in the December 2002 issue of PC Gamer, already carrying a very recognizable silhouette. That version was later changed into the one we got in the final game, and eventually reworked again into the Vulgar for the Resurrection of Evil expansion.
Welcome, John.
To understand another cut creature, we need to go back to 2001 and the id Tech 4 demo shown at Macworld.
So the big trick that we're getting now is the final unification of lighting and shadowing across all surfaces in a game.
According to artist Kenneth Scott, the Birdman was originally intended to be the Baron of Hell. The blue and black lighting used in that demo also feels strangely close to the Doom movie's visual style. Concept was also created for the Spider Demon and Arachnotron. Neither appeared in the final release, though their spider theme lived on through the Trite, Tick, and Vagary in a more, let's say, organic style. Interesting enough, the Arachnotron was later recreated by fans in the Doom 3 Phobos mod. The limited collector's edition for the first Xbox release included a concept art gallery with several unused monsters and characters. Many of their roles remain unknown, but their designs show how wild id Software's ideas were at the time. One creature appeared to be fused into a wall or a mechanical structure. The Bruiser in Resurrection of Evil was originally envisioned to be introduced while the player looked at wall-mounted screens, so this concept might be an early version of that idea. Another design looked like an early take on the Mancubus before it gained its mechanical parts, featuring tentacle-like limbs similar to the Commandos. Here, we can see that those concepts resemble a lot the modern Hell Knights seen in later Doom titles. Those look like alternate versions of the Pinky, either smaller or more animalistic, maybe even some new demon-type dog-like demons. This one is intriguing. The model and textures are almost finished, but it was never used. It looks like it was meant to be a large melee enemy, slamming the ground or relying on other heavy attacks. This section here could also be where a head was supposed to be, which makes me wonder if this was an early concept for what later became the Hell Hunters bosses in Resurrection of Evil, especially since there is concept art that closely resembled the Helltime Hunter. This one was nicknamed the Cyber Orc. It really got that visor look to it. Maybe it was an early test for a commando, or maybe that was early vision of the demon version of a character like General Hayden or Kelly. I'm not sure, but I have 3 theories for that one. It could be a Pinky, a new demon, or some early concept of the Guardian boss. We also have concept art that looks like early Barons, and you can tell they experimented a lot with their designs. In the original scenario, 4 Barons each held a piece of the Soul Cube and you had to kill them all to recover every fragment. Another enemy that was cut but appeared in the first draft of the story, and one I'm really sad didn't make it in, was monkeys. Yeah, zombified monkeys. They were used as test subjects in the lab, became possessed, and after the player encountered a bunch of opened cages, they would attack. Several unused or altered enemy concepts can still be traced through Doom 3's files and early footage. One example is the good old Bernie. According to unused code found in the game data, this enemy was once meant to breathe fire. An unused animation for a spit-style attack still exists in the files and was likely created for that version. Wraith also went through changes. Animation files seem to suggest they were originally able not only to teleport, but also to move and attack from the ceiling. I also saw an article mentioning that unused code suggests they might have been able to jump, possibly as part of an attack. I think this could be related to the cinematic where Bravo Team gets wrecked, since we do see a Wraith jumping onto a Marine in that scene. The Revenant scene in the E3 trailer behaves differently from the released version. In that footage, it runs directly at the player, clearly referencing its classic Doom behavior. Looking again at the same trailer, it also appears that the Hell Knight would have been introduced in a different way. It shows up alone in what looks like part of the Enpro plant. This scene may also have existed only to create trailer footage. Finally, there's hints that female zombies were planned but never finished. In the game's files, there's a definition file which references a monster called Monster Zombies the Femme. The code points to missing models and animations, suggesting the concept was started but abandoned before completion. The Doom 3 alpha build also listed some unused monsters in its files. These included a zombie sergeant, which would have expanded the Z-Sec zombies we ended up with, and a spirit, one that intrigues me quite a bit. There was also a crawler, which raises the question of whether it was meant to be a new demon or a zombie that moved along the ground. A specter was listed as well, which could mean we might have gotten invisible pinkies. Speaking of pinkies, the Doom 3 demo had 2 unused scenes featuring the pinky, and I think it's a real shame they didn't make it into the final game. The first was a scene where the pinky breaks through some pipes. Then there's the famous bathroom scene. The bathroom itself is still in the game, but unfortunately the cinematic was removed. There was an enemy named the Hoarder, which sounds like something that would have been encountered in large numbers. Finally, 2 female scientist bosses and a cult leader boss appear in the list, which makes me think they might have been part of the same encounter. There's no way to know how far these ideas got in development, but it's fascinating to see how much content was planned and how different Doom 3 could have been.